Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to our show. Thank you for clicking on today's episode of Our Favorites. And in case you're new to the channel, we talk about a director, just a collection of movies, and we discuss our favorites in that said collection. And today we're going the film broiest of all the film bros. One of the most heralded directors of ever. That sounds like a word.
My mic smells like meat.
And ever.
Oh, so your mic smells like meat?
Yeah, like... Nope.
Like you just ate dinner?
Like kipper. So that's fish, I guess.
Are you having a stroke?
That's toast, idiot.
Anyway, we're talking
eggs.
about Wes Anderson today. After that, very
unpopular,
strange.
unknown director.
Oh yeah, who knows Wes
yes.
Anderson? Yeah, no, real small name.
He is the indie director.
He
in
really
most people's minds.
really is.
But it's mainstream, not in terms of his output, but so many people are aware of him. It's like it's still independent, but man, it doesn't feel like it anymore.
No, and
Is it still independent?
He technically works for Disney now.
And he also gets a pretty paycheck. Like especially with all the cast members that he likes to work with. Like, you got to get a lot of money going for this. So I don't know if it would be...
I don't know. I'm not his accountant.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'd like to be.
But I think today I get to go first. And I am choosing... Okay, so really quick, what I think about... I'm choosing the Royal Tenenbaums. And what I think is the most interesting thing about this is when I look at things like Grand Budapest or... what's the one with the kids run away...
Moonrise.
I was going to say Moon Knight, but no, okay, Moonrise.
Moon Knight.
I'm going to say that's not right.
Dude.
Oh.
Would you watch a Wes Anderson directed?
I would watch the heck out of that.
Oh, it'd probably
series?
be terrible. Half of it'd be like Ant-Man. It's Diet Anderson. Like that's Diet Right.
I don't know.
Like you coined that.
That's a fair
because
point,
you
but...
see where the right edits, right with a W and an R, are supposed to be, and they're not there, and it makes it infuriating. Because it's supposed to be much different.
That's fair. But,
so I feel half of that movie would be Wes, and the other half would be the boring, dumb, dull Marvel stuff, and it'd just be a weird concoction.
That's kind of fair with kind of how they did with Raimi and Multiverse.
The next Hulk. Wow. The next Hulk movie that we're going to get is going to be directed by Wes Anderson.
Oh, sign me up.
Bring Ang Lee back.
Oh, there you go.
Yes.
What else is he doing?
Give us the Angiverse.
Back on track. I was simply going to say, compared to stuff like, I think Budapest is like, or I haven't seen his newest one either.
The French
Dispatch. But
Isle of Dogs is in there too for his recent one.
Mm-hmm, but those feel like so much Wes Anderson style. I feel like the Grand Budapest was early enough in his career that it wasn't it?
Royal Tenenbaums, you mean?
Royal Tenenbaums, thank you.
I was going to say Grand.
Yeah.
I don't know why I was starting to say, inferring Tenenbaums.
2014, bro.
Yeah. No, Tenenbaums was early enough that it was like, I think it's the perfect marriage when it comes to Wes Anderson's style. Like
it's his third movie.
It's his third movie. Okay. Because like it obviously has, your classic center shots, like everything about Wes Anderson, like with his camera movements and blocking and everything. But I feel like at the same time, it's dieted down just a little bit to make it very refreshing.
It's a little grittier.
It is.
It's a little more, it's lower budget. It's not as crisp.
Which I think also stands out.
It
is
has
like
an edge to it.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like, and I know when I'm talking about Grand Budapest, but like that is like thought through very core to like all like the production design and stuff like that. Where I think this is just more, it feels like he is more making this like by the seat of his pants, which obviously he's not. He's still a very well thought out director, but it has that vibe, and I just like that vibe from movies. But also the biggest thing other than that is just the performances. I think obviously everyone from Gene Hackman to Owen Wilson. Why am I blanking? Oh my god, I'm blanking on the sister's name.
Gwyneth Paltrow.
Thank you, Gwyneth Paltrow. Yeah,
Ben Stiller is
Ben
good.
Stiller.
I was going to say.
Luke Wilson's also in it. He's one of the children. Angelica Houston is their mother.
Luke.
Danny Glover is her husband to be. Remember Gene Hackman will not divorce her in the movie, even though they've been separated for like 30 years or whatever at that point.
Yeah,
Bill Murray's in it.
I know, but for me, it's just the strange off like. granted, it's been a second since I've seen this, so one of the few things that really stand out to me is that weird offbeat romance between Luke Wilson and Gwyneth, because that feels
they're
just
not biologically siblings.
They're not biological.
And they don't really pursue it either. It just kind of is. There's a whole lot more to read into it, and I haven't seen the movie in a long time. But I remember it was like, this is a little weird.
It feels so wrong. And that's that's the crazy part about again going back to just the characters to me, is I feel like they all are just so, and Wes Anderson is just really good at this. They're all just so well-rounded. They all have their positive sides and they all have their very negatives. I mean, Gene Hackman crashed his car when he was driving it hot, and when he was trying.
That's Owen Wilson.
Was that Owen Wilson that crashed the car?
He slams into the house and kills the dog.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Luckily. He killed the dog, which again, that's anytime I'm not gonna lie. I could care less if you kill a human being in a movie. But if you kill a dog...
Gene Hackman's character is almost only negatives. He shoots his own son with a BB gun just to get just to mess with him, and that's why it get lodged in his hand for his life.
Yeah.
What else? He brings his nephews to a dog fight.
Yeah.
He on top of it all, he's telling his whole family he's dying.
Which obviously, yeah, that's
just so they'll care about him again.
Mm-hmm. That's what I like. I want to really quick relate this to a current show, in The Boys, where, obviously Homelander is the villain, but no matter how many crappy things he does, the writers still manage to slide in one or two things here and there to be oh, I feel bad. And they do the same, and that's what Wes Anderson does with Gene Hackman's character. I really love when you can paint a character as so just vile and despicable, but he has those moments where he's just he seems like a good guy, and that tearing.
I don't think seems like a good guy. I think more of he's still human and he wants the family connection. Now he's 30 or 40 years too late, but he also just. It's he misses it. The second she's going to get married, it's that triggers something in him where he realizes something. So was because spoiler. You've seen it, right? Long time ago. He does die at the end. It's during the ending montage with narration, which that's Alec Baldwin, I think.
Really? Yep. I didn't know that.
I would not call his character a good person, but I do like how even it's he cares so much how people think about him that even on his gravestone it says he died saving his family from a sinking ship.
Yeah. Then
you got the Wes Anderson slow-mo shot of them all leaving the plot with the Van Morrison song playing. Everyone. That one.
Yep.
So I always thought it was funny how Gene Hackman did not like Wes Anderson's style behind the scenes. Was very frustrated with him and was kind of.
I didn't know that.
It's not like he was acting bad. Just kind of. I don't think they were on the. One of those things where it's such a different approach, and Gene Hackman is legendary actor, so it's two different schools of thought clashing,
which makes sense.
But I think after the fact, I read this that he respected it. He's no, this is a good movie. He did a good job. I just didn't see it in the moment.
That's it. That's super interesting.
Should have been nominated for the Oscar. I think he might have won the Globe or was nominated for the Globe.
Really?
Also, I think this movie might be Owen Wilson's only Oscar nomination for screenplay because he helped Wes with the screenplay.
I didn't know.
Because Owen Wilson and Luke Wilson came up with Wes Anderson. I think they knew each other before they were really in the industry, or at least the early days. So that's why they're in his movies.
So many. I know them and him. That's not grammatically correct, but anyway, aren't they who wrote Bottle Rocket and really started
I think so. Well, all three, because they have a third brother who's in Bottle Rocket in a small role too. But the two of them were
There's
kind of.
There's another Wilson.
I think his name's Andrew.
Wow.
And now Owen Wilson's huge, and Luke he was bigger 2 decades ago, but he hasn't been around. Now all he's doing is Home Depot ads.
What? Owen Wilson's
No, not Owen Wilson. No, that's not Luke Wilson. I always mix him up with Josh Lucas.
Oh.
That's what tells you. Josh Lucas is another one. Same time.
Yeah.
And now I just don't see them in anything.
No,
maybe I'm missing something. But see, I just mixed him up with Luke Wilson because they both kind of I don't even know why. It's how some people used to mix up like Mark Wahlberg and Matt Damon.
Yeah.
Which makes more sense because it's
they're Boston.
Two loud Boston white guys who say words they shouldn't say.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just I do like Luke Wilson. I just never see him anything.
Yeah, no, I really do wish. So really quick, I didn't. What all is it nominated for Oscars? Because I didn't.
Screenplay.
Just screenplay. Yep. Okay. I was just curious because I feel like I don't know what else came out that year, but I could see this either easily getting like some more direction and acting stuff. But I mean, it's a sad.
It would have been up against A Beautiful Mind and Fellowship of the Ring that year if it was in contention.
Yeah, that's
amongst other things. Among other things. Is it among or amongst? Amongst. I was right.
We're great at grammar.
Do you have anything to say, Jake? You're a little quiet on this. It's been too long, probably. What do you remember?
I remember I liked it. I remember that was the first Wes Anderson movie I ever saw, and
really
it frustrated me at first, but I kind of fell into a groove with it.
Yeah,
I think I saw it in 2006.
Okay,
2007. You'll never guess who showed me it.
I was just gonna say, it's a style that if you're not ready for it, it's very off-putting the first time.
I can see that.
I think either your pick or Rushmore was my first Wes Anderson movie, and I watched it at like 16, and I didn't care for it. But then I watched whatever one of the, I think Royal Tenenbaums was like, so I actually think your pick was third. But I think that when I watched Rushmore first, I was like, everyone loves this. I don't get it. But then later, I started it's one of those you got to be ready.
You just got if you know what you're getting, if you know how he makes movies and what you're getting into, then you're gonna
and there'll be a story about that with my pick.
Fair
when
enough.
I go about not me but someone else watching it with us that was the same. So
interesting.
Is that
have to stay tuned until the end of the episode.
Okay,
but for next up we have Jake. I would love to hear.
I would love to tell a really funny Wes Anderson story before I talk about my pick. The story has nothing to do with my pick. So
Wes Anderson, go ahead. I'm curious.
I'll just tell it before I go into. So, back a few years ago, Isle of Dogs had just come out.
2018.
Great movie.
I guess that's 4 years ago.
Yup.
Oh my God.
Anyway, Disney Plus now.
I didn't get to see it in theaters, I don't believe.
Yeah, you saw it with me.
Oh, I saw it with you?
Yes.
Okay, so I wanted to watch it again, and Jared had a copy, so I borrowed a copy.
Oh God.
My Blu-ray copy that I've never watched. I've seen the movie twice in theaters, and then he borrows this before I ever have a chance to watch it.
What happened to that Blu-ray?
So it goes into the back of my car. And then in like the next week or the next day, there was an emergent situation and my whole life just kind of fell apart for a good long while. And then I went to return Jared's Blu-ray and it's not in my car. Look all around everywhere in my house. It's not in my house.
Uh-oh. And this is it.
What is this going to be? And I mean, if you guys know Jared, he loves his media.
We're talking about a man who has how many movies now?
Almost 2,000.
Almost. Whoo, dog. So yeah, he loves his media, and you lost his Blu-ray.
As in, I think maybe one of his favorite directors.
Up there, yeah.
Okay.
It's hard to say because everyone says that when they try to be all
it's
about
like,
movies.
Wes
it's like,
Anderson.
Man, I can't even talk about them because that's all anyone does, and they're the annoying people that usually do it.
But there are legitimate reasons to like him.
Yes.
But anyways, so Jared, being the kind soul that he is, let this go for about, when did I?
3 years.
3 years. 3 years.
Put it in perspective. I bought the Blu-ray sometime in 2019 when it came out. Jake gave it to me after the year after the first wave of COVID.
So
about 2 years.
So we also do a bit of, the three of us do a bit of filming together, and we are filming something for Christmas, and we are in my dad's house. In 2021, I looked at his TV stand and I pull out this stack of Blu-rays because I see some of mine. My dad borrows my movies,
of course,
whatever.
Sure.
And I'm looking through this stack and I'm like, oh, that doesn't look like something my dad would. And I pull it apart and I'm like, it's Isle of Dogs. how it got from my car to my dad's TV stand, because I know for a fact he has never watched it.
I never will.
Yep. Well, mostly because you have it now.
Oh,
But
yeah.
That is amazing.
anyway, that's my funny Wes Anderson story. Beyond that,
The Brotherhood of the Traveling Wes Anderson movie, if you will.
The Brotherhood of Dogs.
But yes, go on to your movie. Go on to
my
your movie.
pick is Moonrise Kingdom.
Great one.
That came out 2008?
12.
That was
Really?
12.
Why do I always think it was 2000?
I don't know.
Anyways,
Don't look at me.
Time is weird, man.
Yeah,
I was
that's
in
right.
high school.
Fantastic Mr. Fox was before that, wasn't
2009.
it? Yes. Okay. So it was my third Wes Anderson film as well. Fourth. I watched Darjeeling Limited before that.
Your favorite one. Isn't that your least favorite one?
Yeah. It's the one
It's better on rewatch. Not to get into that, but it's
Maybe.
better every time I see it.
Anyway, Moonrise Kingdom. I watched this for the first time and I don't know what it was about it, but something just spoke to me about it. Something just latched onto me, and all the things that because I still wasn't a big Wes Anderson fan, but something about it just like latched onto me, and I didn't care about any of the little tiny dumb stuff that bugged me about the other few that I'd watched. I watched it again a couple of weeks ago in preparation for this, and then we didn't film it until now, and blah, 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 blah. But it's so much better than I remember it being. And I don't know if it's because I've aged and I look at it more differently, but just there's something about the whimsy and the adventure of it. Like those kids on the motorcycle gang.
Oh,
that kills me every time.
It's so good.
And just the, I mean, I could have picked it for Bill Murray movie. It's more of a Bill Murray movie than the Bill Murray movie I actually picked.
It really,
Are you
it is
worried
a little.
that your daughters run away from home? That's a loaded question.
That's I remember because that was in the trailer for it. And
when he throws a shoe at Bruce Willis.
Yeah.
Was it Bruce Willis he threw a shoe at?
Yeah,
or
I think it was
David?
Bruce Willis.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's when he figures out that he and his wife are sleeping together.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Or in a whatever that is.
Poor Bill Murray. Because in Royal Tannenbaums that was happening too.
I know. He must just like the roles, I guess.
But
I don't.
Back to Moonrise Kingdom, there's just something about like the sound design of it. Like it's all very natural and crisp, and
It's probably just maybe just like they're running through the woods or something like that. Like it just feels like
the sound of their feet on the grass, like the sound of the wind.
It's an autumn, late summer, early autumn.
Yeah, and that's
it
one of my
is.
favorite seasons. So of course I like it.
Isn't it the music they use? Some of it, not the jukebox, the needle drops, but I think some of the music where they're narrating what part's going to play next. It's a real thing that they're using, but it reminds me of, is it Peter and the Wolf? Where they say like this instrument represents this.
I think it is that.
Is it Peter and the Wolf?
You'll look it up. I think it is
or
that.
something. It was something like that.
But specifically like at the end, that's at the end credits. Now you'll hear whatever it is. Now you'll hear the trombones, and now you'll hear the drums.
That's super interesting.
I think the more I think about it, the more I think the sound design of that movie is really what grabs me.
It looks like they use, at least according to Google, The Young Person's Guide to the Orchestra by Leonard Bernstein. Bernstein, however you say it. I think that's just one part, but I remember that part. They use. I'm gonna say this. They use parts of noise flude. I don't know how to pronounce it.
Flaude.
Fludde.
Flaude.
I don't know how to say it.
No, that word's beyond me. I butcher it. I butcher even in
noise
simplest
floody,
words.
I just remember that being a big part. So the point being, they use parts of that. He always knows how to use music and needle drops together because Alexandre Desplat does the music course. He did. That's another thing. Like the two halves of his filmography tends to be like the early stuff is Mark Mothersbaugh, and then the last like 5 or 6 or whatever have been Desplat. So
interesting. I didn't know. I mean, it makes sense. He likes working with the same people. I didn't know who.
Yeah.
Jake, you mentioned that, and I feel like I want to rewatch this now, specifically with just the sound design in mind.
I was a little shocked at how much more I liked it this time than when I first saw it, because I really loved it when I first saw it.
When is it Edward Norton jumps over the raging river to rescue Harvey Keitel? Edward Norton is a great addition to Wes Anderson's career. Like, because I think it was this and then Grand Budapest, and I think he's in Isle of Dogs.
Yeah, he's one of the
He
voices.
is in
Yeah,
Isle of
but
Dogs.
I just remember.
Is he in French Dispatch?
I don't remember. I think so. It's been
Seems
a
like
hot second.
everybody's in that movie. So
I'm gonna say it's his whole collection.
Just him jumping over. Just he like jumps, and it's one of those things where it's clearly wire work, but it's done so it's like, well, we know, but we're just gonna have fun with it, and that's how it should be.
That's what I like, how whimsical it is. It's just,
and also
everything with him narrating all the stuff in his tent.
the whole cut in the tent, and he just picks it like, Jiminy Cricket, he flew the coop. I actually have a fun story about the first time I watched this.
I'm curious.
So I'd seen Rushmore and Royal Tenenbaums, and Moonrise Kingdom had just come out physically. Like, it's out of theaters. It's physical. So I bought the DVD. I still have that DVD.
Nice.
And I brought it to show my teacher. I don't know why. I think I said, like, I was going to... I don't remember why. I think I told him I bought it. He's like, bring it in. And I was like, okay. So I brought it to show it to him. He's like, let's watch it.
Okay.
So me and 3 teachers it was Halloween, right after school, went to one of their rooms and put it on the projector. We just watched it.
That's cool.
It was funny because it was that guy who was like the civics teacher, and then one of the English teachers who I ended up having the next year. Oh, they're cool. And then the French teacher, and she fell asleep. We were all sitting here. She was like, here. She was just conked out. So I don't know if they were supposed to do that.
Probably not.
I was like 17.
I feel like
18.
they're just like, this kid's cool.
Just
He's
like,
bought it in a
just
movie.
like some kid watching it, but it was just funny. I was like, let's watch it. Let's just watch it after school.
Might as well.
That's
cool.
It was fun. I always got along with people my age, but I always got along with teachers. Both my parents are teachers. That's probably why
it probably
I'm able
helps.
to. But I just always got along with them better.
One thing I definitely found weird about that movie when I first watched it was the relationship between the two like little kids.
Yeah.
I was like, this is maybe a little bit more serious than I would like it to be.
You mentioned that, and I remember when I first showed Sam, and she was like, this is creepy. And I'm like, I
That is
guess
the
I
exact
never really,
feeling I have when I
and,
watch
and I'm like,
I still love it.
it's unsettling. It feels odd.
But I don't want to say I don't know why, because I don't want to sound like a creeper, but
They're just so young. That's what it is.
they're so young contrasted with how serious they're being.
Yes.
I think that's the thing.
Yes. I'm trying to, so crap. When did this come out again? What year?
2012?
Moonrise.
Moonrise 2012.
So I would have been in high school.
Wait, are we talking about Moonrise
Yeah.
now?
Yes.
Yeah.
You see Incredibles 2?
That was before we started rolling.
Wait, we are starting rolling? You just kept talking. You never stopped.
I did.
Jake, I picked up on when you were starting.
Ding, ding.
I was listening.
You
I'm
are
like,
so lost right now.
because you were talking like, because I said, we talk about Incredibles 2. Oh, okay. And then you never like paused.
You're right. Well, I did pause because I realized
You
I
did.
didn't pause. And then I paused, I looked at you, and then I started.
I picked up on it
Like,
perfect.
what are we talking about? Incredibles 2.
Do you want me to go back and talk about what I was talking about
Yes.
now? Okay. So what we're talking about is the creepy way that the relationship plays out between I don't remember his name and I don't remember her name.
But the romance in the movie, it just, especially when they were on the beach and in the tent, and I thought they were like
Sam and Susie.
Gotcha.
Those are their names.
But when they're really insinuating like things were going on, I'm like, they're young.
Well, and then
this just feels.
she's just like chilling there in her bra, and like it's like
how old are they supposed to be? Like they can't
I don't know.
They can't be much older than like 16, right?
I doubt.
No,
that.
they
were
like 12-year-olds.
That's what I thought. Like, yeah, that's. Like,
I get that it's part of like the misfit adventure because they think the adventure's a lot more than what it is.
Which makes sense because they're just
is
kids when you're that young.
Imagine how I felt sitting with our teachers. They all kind of go.
Well, I thought you were going to get into that when you were saying you saw it with your teachers. I'm just like, so are they?
I didn't even think about that. How was seeing that 12-year-old girl in her bra and by your teachers?
They were all like, this is a little awkward. I go, yeah, this is pretty awkward. I think we just said it out loud.
Because that makes it better.
It clears the air a little bit. I could see that, but
At least everybody thinks the same thing.
yeah.
Right? Right?
Hey. But yeah, I mean, that's like, as weird as that is, it's still a good movie. I still like it for everything else, but that one part just rubs me.
It's another one of those things
way.
where it's like Boss Baby. It's
okay, you're gonna have to work this one. Go
like Boss Baby. It's taking something that's in the imagination of a child and making it an adult situation.
I think Moonrise does that way better than Boss Baby, but okay.
I never said that it didn't. It was the first thing that I thought of when I was trying to think of comparison.
Fair enough.
But like the problem is that you get so drawn into it. It's like you feel like these are adults, but they're not.
Mm-hmm. Well, you just get really into their characters, and just when you take that half a step back and realize how young they are, it's like, and then you just
and it gets a little touchy feely. And I remember that one part. I go,
yeah.
I was like 17 too. I was like,
doesn't.
Okay. Yeah, that's the thing is, because it came out when we were in high school. I'm just
like,
even when we were in
really uncomfortable.
Even when we were in high school,
really
it's when it feels weird. That's like
Okay.
But yeah,
doesn't Bruce Willis like end up adopting Sam?
Yeah,
too?
Because otherwise he'll get put in a
jail of some kind.
Yeah, it was because
they're gonna send him away to something.
Running away from foster care, so they're gonna put him.
That's right, and he basically and they
because Tilda Swinton plays social services. That's her name in the movie. Social services.
Is it really? I didn't realize that. That's hilarious.
Trying to be like, oh yeah, he kidnapped the girl.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, you have any finishing thoughts on Moonrise Kingdom?
I really enjoy it for as creepy as it is. Like it really something about it works for me.
Fair enough, man.
It's an adventure.
It's a good
adventure is out there.
It's a good adventure. Speaking of adventures, Jared, your pick is quite an adventure as well.
Yes.
What is your pick? Do enlighten the crowd.
So it's one of those things where many of his movies I could pick because they are similar and I have different reactions and feelings for them. But I did go pretty basic with this pick just because it's the one that I got excited for more than the other.
It's your favorite.
I know. I'm not trying to defend it.
You don't have to explain yourself. Saying, it's your favorite. Like,
I'm just saying, like, it's Grand Budapest.
It has been since you saw it.
Because he saw it with me.
Define that a little bit.
So here's the story.
Oh, boy.
So Grand Budapest Hotel was supposed to, the limited release was at the end of 2014. I remember that means we don't have it around here.
Oh, of course not.
And I had waited in like February or like March, the first trailer came out. It was really early, I remember, something like that. So I'd waited all year for this movie. And it says Christmas time. And then it doesn't come out.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like,
limited release.
What? I didn't understand limited and wide release. So the wide release is
wait, you didn't understand limited and wide release at that time?
No.
I mean, you're just out of high school. That's so a while ago.
I was in college.
Sometimes
in 14.
Sometimes I forget how much older I am than you guys.
I was about 20. Not yet 20. No, I was 20. So I was probably finishing up my first year of college, but I just, for some reason, didn't click with me like, oh, there's a limited and wide release. Huh?
Only in LA and New York, baby, just for the Oscars.
Yeah, so it gets its wide release in like March or something like that because it had already, the Oscars had happened or something, or somehow the timeline works because I remember Jake and I and another friend of ours were going to meet up with some people at B-Dubs. And then we were going to see the movie afterwards, and they were doing whatever. We're just
that sounds fun.
So B-Dubs the reason I remember it's March is because
B-Dubs in Budapest. B-Dubs in Budapest. Sorry, go on.
Dickey, what happens every March?
Oh,
say it out loud.
March Madness.
And Michigan was playing that night.
We walk into B-Dubs, and they're literally like,
it's packed. The line is all the way to Norton. We're waiting in line. And then the Michigan game started, and then I I think I was one that said something because I realized we're not getting a table. The game just started. No one is moving.
No,
we're not going to. And so at that point, we're kind of like, okay, the movie's going to start in like 5 minutes. There's no way we're going to make it in time.
Oh, God.
Because we haven't even eaten. So we decided to see like the 10:50 showing and had to do something for it because I think it was like 7:30, 8 o'clock. So we have like 2 hours. So we ended up going to Twisted Rooster, which is not even in that location anymore. It was the one off Beltline there.
Oh, yeah.
It's gone now.
Now
There's a different thing. What
Bell.
Yeah, something.
Bell something.
What's the Morning Bell?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good, but yeah.
Yeah, so
anyway.
So I remember we ate there, and then it's like, okay, it's like 8:30. This movie is at like 10:50.
You got a lot of time to kill.
Well, what do we do? And guess what we did? Us funny Midwestern Michiganians. What did you think we did?
Walked around Meyer?
Yup. There's a Meyer right there. And it was funny because I worked for a vendor at the time at a different Meyer, and did I have a smartphone yet? I did have a smartphone, but I had like an iPod Touch or something.
Oh, yeah.
No, it was my smartphone. There's a Meyer employee Wi-Fi, and it connected to that automatically when I walked in. And all of a sudden, because I didn't have unlimited data.
Oh, yeah, no. Yeah.
So all of a sudden, I'm getting all these updates. I go, it doesn't matter what store I'm in. I'm connected to Wi-Fi.
That's great.
So we walked around Meyer. So we finally, this is a long, drawn out story, but I think
he is getting to a point.
So I have seen at this point the majority of his movies. I think at that point, I bet you, because Grand Budapest is the newest one.
Mm-hmm.
I think Bottle Rocket might have been the only one I had not seen up to that point.
Okay.
And Jake had seen probably most of them as well.
Yeah.
And our friend had never seen any of them.
Interesting.
He's going in blind, and he's not a movie person like we are.
Interesting.
I'm really going in blind.
He had no idea what the movie was about. He just knew the title. And I just remember...
I can hear him saying in my head, that sounds good.
Yeah, he just kind of... We watched a lot of movies in those days.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because neither of them were married.
Okay.
And now both of them are married.
Yeah,
one of
that's
us
fair.
has kids.
Funny how
he
time
has 2 kids.
Funny how time flies like that.
Well, you have 2 dogs.
Yeah, it kind of
I
counts.
don't have anything.
Kind of. What did you say?
He's just like, I don't have anything.
It's like, wow, I'm kind of in the same spot I was 8 years ago. Oh, boy.
Dear God.
Anyway.
This is a really long shot.
The point being, I'm sitting through this movie, and my eyes are wide, because this movie is the epitome of his style that's not an animated movie. Because his 2 animated movies are the perfect medium for his style.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the most perfect Wes Anderson-esque, if we're going to use that phrase, movie of his is Grand Budapest. It's the style to a T, super symmetrical, the colors, just everything. He just bleeds his style.
It really does.
It's the perfect example, and it's actually probably the most accessible movie that isn't animated. Because Fantastic Mr. Fox is probably his best movie and the most accessible one for people who have no idea.
Yeah.
And yet, I sit through this movie, and I loved it. At the end, I'm like, that was amazing. He didn't like it.
Really?
Slept through it.
He slept through, but...
Is it because walking around Meyer just tired you out?
Well,
Is that a cripple joke, Dickey?
No, it wasn't.
Is that a cripple joke, Dave?
For shame.
Shame!
Well, it's like we went through the whole kerfuffle about B-dubs, and we had to keep changing plans, and then we walked around Meyer, and it's 10:50 when the movie starts.
So you're going to get it, past midnight, obviously.
Like 12:30 when we get out of the theater, and he's tired, and there are parts of it he didn't like, a couple things, rubber. I don't know what it was, but it's like...
It all felt very samey to me.
And
Compared to the rest. And I get that it's his style now, and I haven't watched it since.
Really? Just the one time?
Yeah.
I want to be with you and watch it again.
I've seen it 5 times.
That's going to be like your most watched movie ever.
No.
I feel like it ages well.
I feel like I am a different person than who I was then.
That's fair.
Yeah,
that would probably also
It was
help.
just like, Jake didn't like it, and it like crushed me, because I was like, what? I thought
What
we
did
were
your other friend
collectively like
think?
this. All he said was, that was weird. like exactly like that. He's not an outspoken person. He's pretty quiet, and he didn't know what to expect, and he wasn't used to it. And he's like, I think it was fine. It's weird.
I think it was fine.
He said something like that, and I'm like, oh.
That probably hurt.
I'm like, I still love this. I like this, but it's kind of disheartening when the two people you go with and wait all that time for, neither of them like it.
Oh, just wait till we get to talk about Whiplash.
Oh, you don't like that, do you?
I don't know.
Okay.
So that's why my mic smells weird. I spilled dinner all over it. Look!
Well, that's a callback!
That's why when I picked it up and it was dribbling, it got all over my mic.
Oh my god.
Sorry, everyone. My mic smells like tacos. I know I said kippers, but no, it's not a fishy smell. It's a beefy smell. I don't know how I mix them up.
I don't know how to follow that. I don't know what to say.
I've spent 10 minutes talking about the story of watching the movie.
So get into what about
Don't
this?
say really quick. I'm going to talk about it. It's like this is the height of his career.
I know this is like
the most. It might have grossed the most.
Wasn't it the only one that's been nominated for Best Picture?
It had 9 nominations. It was tied with Birdman for the most that night. It won 4. I think it was score, which score is great.
Oh, the score is so
makeup,
good
which I remember them saying they brought in like the most expensive makeup team they could, and it's mainly for Tilda Swinton's age up.
That makes
And then I think is it costume and production design?
That makes so much sense.
It's just it all makes sense.
I mean, like kind of what you were saying, like it's a very well round, like every when you just like break it down, like you were saying, like production design, directing, like acting, like it was just like. Everything comes together so perfectly. Like it is the most like up until like I haven't seen The French Dispatch, but everybody has said up until The French Dispatch being the most Wes Anderson movie, I thought that was Grand Budapest. Like it is.
It still is.
You think so? Even more so than French
Dispatch starts to tweak it a little bit, not much, but it's one of those things where it's not quite the same. It's the same style, but it's the.
I think it's the narrative, the miniature feel of Budapest that did that for me. Yeah. And I've not seen French Dispatch either. But from what I gather from what I have seen and what I have read, it does not have that same. It's not a tone, but a feel. Because
that's what was like again, like we were going down the feel, like that, like the story within a story within a story. I just thought that was like. I can't explain to you how that makes me feel, but
they're both
feels
vignette
good.
movies, aren't they?
Vignettes, that's a very good way to put it.
French Dispatch is
Grand Budapest not?
No.
I thought you said there were 3 vignettes. Again, I slept through a lot of it, so I thought you said there were 3 different like time vignettes.
There are.
There
are in
Budapest. He said that. I think you say that the 3 thing.
Yeah, it's like a story within a story within a story.
Yeah, it's not vignettes. There are layers to the narrative. So the way it works, if I remember right, there is a girl.
You've seen it 5 times. You better remember right.
It's been a couple of years. It's a girl in a cemetery at Monsieur Gustave's gravestone. Has a bunch of keys on it, and she's reading a book. We cut back to then like the 80s where Tom Wilkinson, the author of the book, is telling us the story. And that cuts back to the flashback of when when his younger days, played by Jude Law, is having writer's block and visits the hotel and runs across F. Murray Abraham, who used to work there and who owns it. And then we flash back into F. Murray Abraham's story where he is the, what is it called? Lobby boy, right?
Oh, what's his name?
I know.
What's his name? It's going to bother me.
It's Flash from the new Spider-Man movies. I can't think of his name. Tony do not say Rev.
I was about to say it. I had to stop myself. Revlori or something like that.
Tony. So that's like the layers.
Tony.
So we start out here and we go that deep into it to make it feel more like aged. Like there's layers to it.
Well,
and we never cut back to any of the others except Jude Law and F. Murray Abraham telling the story.
And when they do, I like that they have the aspect ratio change. Like that really helps knowing where you are.
And then at the end, we go all the way back out. Like it's just a great way to kind of condense everything. It's like this is very focused on this,
which is very impressive because like when you talk about like how many stories are within it, it seems like a very like a massive in scale. Like how are you going to tell that story? and the way that he's able to just shrink it down. Like, this story is about this. This story is about this. This story is about this, which is the core of like, that's such an interesting way. I never thought about it like that, but that's such an interesting way to tell a story.
It's just that, and that's just like the performances are great. The cast is huge. It looks great. It's really funny. Whenever he tries or someone tries to do like poetry and they get interrupted, it's funny. Ralph Fiennes is so good. And should have been nominated, and
he wasn't nominated.
Nope. They nominated Eddie Redmayne for The Theory of Everything over Eddie Redmayne won for that terrible movie. And another one
I can say this: The Theory of Twitching.
I wasn't gonna, but I'm looking at the other Best Actor nominees just to remember, because Michael Keaton should have won for Birdman.
He was great in Birdman.
Benedict Cumberbatch for Invitation Game is a good performance. Steve Carell in Foxcatcher, which I just recently watched, is great. Bradley Cooper for American Sniper is another one I'd kind of switch up. Because another role in 2014 that should have been nominated is Jake Gyllenhaal for Nightcrawler.
Oh my God! You're preaching to the choir, baby!
So 2014 is pretty stacked.
It was a good year. And of course,
they make the wrong choices on those slots, and they give it to the wrong person.
As the Academy tends to do.
Yeah. But just, Budapest there's so much that happens. And it covers a long period of time, which I always like doing because I always like in movies when they cover a lot without it feeling rushed or glossed over. There's a lot more emotion in it than I think some of Wes Anderson's movies are very dry to the point where there is emotion, but it's very restrained. Whereas I feel here it's not as restrained.
It works with the style.
Yeah, like again, spoilers, when the scene where Gustav dies and we don't see it, that could be a cop-out movie where it's like, it's a they're telling and not showing. But it's so effective because he's defending him again, but the new regime takes him out and shoots him. But we don't see it. Instead, it cuts back at Abraham goes quiet, and Jude Law is like checking on him. He goes, they shot him.
I thought
it's just this just quiet moment, and it sits with you. I mean, that's one of the lines I remember the most.
Well, because it was important because how he impacted him, and
after everything we've been through, and it just ends like that.
Yeah.
When everything seemed to be working out.
Yeah.
And then of course he asks the question like, "Oh, so you bought the hotel in memory of him?" He's like, "Oh no, he doesn't. I don't need to remember him that way, and he doesn't even." I did it for her because she died in childbirth. Another thing that we're told, not shown, but it works.
It just,
So it's just, and it again is something, it's not something F. Murray Abraham's version of the character wants to necessarily talk more into. So,
which I think that's where telling and not showing actually works, is when it releases stuff about the character that's telling it.
I think because we've been shown most of it, and then they tell the big part, but in a way that works and feels more authentic. And that's why I think it works better than most of his movies. The emotional core is there. And all of his movies work, and they're really good. Just this is one I think it puts it above most of them.
Fair enough. All right. Any closing thoughts?
I'd be interested to rewatch it.
Us hyping about it makes me want to rewatch it too, honestly.
Well, I've been thinking I should anyways. I think I even own it.
Probably. I know.
I know. Thank you for that. That was one of my favorite.
Oh, it was great. I basically paid you for a photo shoot, and it was your birthday present.
I know.
I killed two birds with one stone. Have you ever watched it?
I have, yes.
Oh, wait. You have watched my copy?
I have, absolutely.
Oh, good. Now I feel better.
All right, so Jared, after everybody...
What are you going to be like that for?
Nothing.
After everyone who just sat through us yip-yapping about our stories and Wes Anderson, hopefully they liked us. Where can they follow all of our fun details?
Whoa, yeah. Sorry. I didn't like that part. Yes.
Break out the Jersey Mike script.
Yep.
Sponsor us.
You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can listen to us on Apple, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify. You can watch us on YouTube.
Here it comes. Yeah. Like the storm in the day after tomorrow.
But there's a scene in the Darjeeling Limited.
No, there is no scene in the Darjeeling
where
Limited.
They literally drop their baggage to get on the train. It's a very, do I want to say cathartic moment? It's just a very freeing moment.
To get on the train?
Yeah, at the end, they have all this baggage they carry, which was their dad's bags, and they just start chucking them to make the train. And it's a great moment. And then I remembered, wait a minute. With their dad? Okay. And then I thought earlier about when the movie was funnier.
You want to make a sandwich for when he gets to this point?
Dear God.
So then I started thinking about how the movie was funny.
Yeah? Is that what made you think about the Humble
And
was
I
funny?
thought if they had cell phones on that train like we
Oh
do,
my,
and they
this
could
is so
watch
long-winded.
TikTok after
This
getting rid of all
is
their
so
baggage,
long-winded.
they
You could
could
have made a
follow
sandwich by
the
now.
Off-Slate Media TikTok because it is funny.
Hey, wait, hold on. I thought I just heard that the off-slate TikTok is funny.
It's pretty funny.
Is it pretty funny?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for listening to today's episode of Our Favorites. Make sure to stay tuned later this week and for many more weeks to come. We're going to put out some awesome content, so hope you guys enjoy. So, from all of us here at Off Slate Media, thank you for listening, and until the next time, goodbye.
See ya.